Wonderful. Wonderful. I believe that most of the things that Captain Stallone has been saying, the people of Amazonia heard him. The hierarchy, he has a very high understanding of the laws that governs war, which I want to applaud the Bush Security Council and the Commander Willis, the NC, the military wing, for taking out time, like you see the barristers saying all the time, training the fighters on the ground, on the need to prosecute this war legally. Very important, especially at this time. The legality of this war is very imperative. And this is a fighter on the ground. I'm bringing our captains right now. We are actually Commander Willie, Barrister Fru, Barrister Team. This is the man on the ground we are actually seeing uh, 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 commanding a lot of respect. This is Major General Tokandu, commanding a lot of respect, a lot of love from his people. And this is what happens all across Ambazonia. The genuine Ambazonian fighters, the state army, are loved by the people, supported by the people, protected by the people, fed by the people. The Cameroon infiltrates some of the ranks, uses proxies like the ADF and so on and so forth to thwart public opinion, change narrative and the international community, and to make it seem like conductor was saying this morning, Anglophones killing Anglophones. That's their narrative. What do you have to do in this regard? I'll begin with you, Commander Willie. Before we get into the plan you have for this evening, Commander Willie, talk to us. This is really the first part where we'll handle something. Talk to us, Commander Willie. What do you say about all of this we've heard from Captain Stallone, the understanding of how to execute the war, the relationship between the Amazonian state army and the civilian community, the need and their understanding on what it takes to protect the civilians and to defend the homeland. Please,
Yes, from Repali, they say all for one, one for all. All for one for all. As Cameroon army have entered our country and is killing our people have stand up and they are fighting to defend themselves and defend homeland. One will say, oh, some are illiterates, some are this, some are that. Yes, if our fighters are illiterate, it's a plus for us because an illiterate person can operate a gun without being taught. An illiterate person can identify an enemy without being taught. An illiterate person can kill an invading force without being taught. So now who is illiterate now? You see, when the English is not part of our culture is our dialects and pidgin English as such. So if you think that success or self-defense is by English, then you fail already. All this English that we speak is given to us by the Europeans. English is not my mother tongue. My first tongue is Bayangi and Ijaka. That's my first tongue. My second tongue is pidgin English. So when they come to fighting, you see those men on the ground. If you come, you want to equilibrate their certificates or their intellectuals. It's more than those of 99% of Europeans and doctors. Those are doctors you see on the ground. Those are engineers you see on the ground. Those are lawyers you see on the ground. Those are university graduates. Those are university graduates. It does not mean, even if they go to school or not, it does not mean Cameroon Army, Janama police should come in and be killing them because they're illiterate. That is why the world have gathered and gang itself. The intellectuals, the learned, are now killing the illiterates as a sole thing. The illiterates are not human. But let me tell you something, the illiterates will fight until heaven will come. When you see somebody stand up, our parents, some of them never went to school, but they delivered us. My mother never went to school, but she delivered me. Is she not more intellectual than a doctor who went to school for 7 years? A woman never went to no school, but she would deliver a baby and then raise the baby, and the baby become a president or become anything. Is that woman not intellectual, more educated than a doctor, than a pilot, than a PhD that people call intellectuals? So when you talk about intellectuals, with respect to what? My brother Captain, yes, spoke of safety first. Yes, safety first initiative is the Ambazonian first rule on the ground. All of them know that you have to be safe to secure your environment. If there's no safety, then there's no development. If there's no safety, then there's no structure. If there's no safety, then there's no development. You see all this crowd coming out. They are not coming out because they love talk and do. They are not coming out because they love you and me. They are coming out because they are fighting for their freedom. They are fighting for their freedom first, to maintain life, to be alive. These are all survivors. They are fighting for their freedom. And now, the presence of Major General Tokandru, who is now walking down on the ground, we salute him for his bravery and for his sacrifice. Remember, he's guarding his parents. Those are his parents. Those are his brothers. And if your brother stand beside you, your sister stand beside you, nobody will touch you. Nobody will touch you. Cameroon army can say what they want to say. Let them be saying. We are not fighting this war based on Cameroon army agenda. Ambazonian government have her own agenda. President Sako has laid the framework on the ground on what we should do, how to process, what we should do before this October 1st happened. On September, we had a meeting with the LGA chair people and the county coordinators and President Samuel Sako, our president. He briefed us on what he wants to see on the ground. We share ideas and he guides us on what is supposed to be done on the ground. So these are some of the fruits you are seeing today. Over to you, sir.
This is so sweet. Considering what Stallone said, Barrister Fru. You know, the battalion we saw those were hundreds of fighters manifesting there, different angles, but they had more than double that number that had mapped out the entire environment. They had placed traps, cognizant of the fact that Cameroon is planning to intercept, and they were ready for any ambush. They were ready. They had assured the people. This is so beautiful. There's nothing sweeter than this. Barrister Fru, please.
Yes, thank you, Paddy. My takeaway is that our soldiers on the ground, our ASA, is putting into practice the Geneva Convention as it concerns war. I tell you, Captain Stallone has just given us the practical part of the Geneva Convention. They respect the population, they protect the population, they work in collaboration with the population, they have meetings with the population, and they explain the reason for our fighting to the population, and the population on their part go with the slogan, you see something, you say something. You see something, you say something. And I tell you, the two phrases that Captain Stallone used, safety is number one. You see something and you say something is number two. So that's why the Bui County military wing of the ASA is very effective, because they have people like Captain Stallone on the ground. You have among these fighters that you see like this, these soldiers you see like this, they have all kinds of people. You have graduates, you have all kinds of professionals who have given up their lives to defend the homeland. And nobody can say anything that we don't know. Our people are determined. They are fighting for their lives, and they are well organized. And this is a takeaway. This program that Captain Stallone has presented to us is a program that should go all the way through all the branches of the Ambazonian State Army in the home front. And you will not imagine that all of them know the hierarchy. You heard him talk about the commander-in-chief. From the commander-in-chief down to their commanders, their generals, and the commanders, and the captains, and the colonels, and everybody. That is a chain of command. They know their chain of command. They are disciplined. They are not the type of soldiers that the type of bandits like you have that Yabacho has put in our midst in the home front to tantalize our people, to kill our people, to impoverish our people, to burn our people, to do everything that is negative. And we thank God for his arrest. That is it.
That's amazing. Barrister Mbeseha, please talk to us.
Well, I think from what our man on the ground says, they are up to the task. They know the game. I've said earlier, better than the Republic of Cameroon. They were educated in the act of war. They are well educated in the act of living as human beings, having gone to study in different universities and different schools. And I'll give these two illustrations, two examples to illustrate their prowess that they should be relied on. Today, this is 26, we're 63 years into this. In 1961, there was no army in the West Cameroon, but what they call the West Cameroon Police Force, supported by the military wing called the Mobile Wing. None of those guys in the mobile wing had gone beyond standard six, but they were skillful. I'm sure that even today, no general in the Republic of the Cameroon army would be able to defeat, would have been able to defeat the mobile wing police that was trained by the West Cameroon government. So you're up to the task. You can be a match to any other military. And the second example is fast forward. I'm very sure almost everyone of us here remembers something they call Cote d'Ivoire. Remember the crisis that took place there? And they were fighting there. They tried to do an arrangement like we call peace agreement. They came to disarmament. There was a clause, I took for instance, there was a clause in disarmament that the people they call rebels will be integrated into the national army with their rank. When we were trying to do that, the military said, no, we cannot just accept General Capo because he was nothing. He's not off to a general in our army. The talks broke down. 6 months or a year into that, what happened? The very people they called talks marched onto Abidjan and disarmed the professional army of Gbagbo that was trained in France. Their general, their commander general, who was like General Semenge, fled. He was the first man to escape to Ghana, and they were all disarmed. Their General Semenge became an ambassador to Gabon. Today, as we speak, the Ivorian army, which is actually in place right now, has generals, has every rank. That did not issue from the army training in France. It issued from the army of Kem Soro, what they call the rebels. They took over the whole place, and they are today the national army of Cote d'Ivoire. So our guys are up to the game. Don't mind what they call you. You are professional enough. You are doing better than most armies of the Francophonie, and which is why I will just end it here. I think we have reminded them if it gets bad, all your military combined with the one of France, you could not be able to defeat Ambazonian, what you call the ragtag army. Over to you.
Well, that's a great one.